Hello again, everyone. Welcome to part 2. So, in the last video, we discussed the mutual electoral destruction scenario and how something like that would play out and how it would actually occur and get to this point. So now, I'm going to go over 7 different scenarios which could occur from this particular thing. Now, these are going to be the most extreme scenarios. There's a lot of variance and a lot of different things. There's a lot of swing states up for grabs. It's a lot of chaos and a lot of things, and it'll be a phenomenon which no one had ever covered before, and people would not know how to cover it, first off. So the mainstream media would just be at a loss as to even how to predict an election like this. But there are 7 different scenarios which I want to go over to you, which are the most extreme scenarios. So the first one's going to be Hillary Clinton. So basically the first 2 will be about Hillary Clinton taking the most. The second 2 will be about Donald Trump taking the most, and the third pair will be about Gary Johnson taking the most. And then we're going to have a 7th scenario, which I think would be an interesting scenario as well. So let's get started. Number 1. So this one, I'm kind of going in the order of what it would be least interesting to most interesting in my mind. So this one, Hillary Clinton takes the most, and then followed up by Donald Trump taking the most. So basically what this means is in every contest where it's Hillary Clinton versus Gary Johnson, Hillary Clinton wins. In any state, basically any swing state Hillary Clinton's in, she wins. And then followed up by any state that Donald Trump is in, he wins. So basically Clinton defeats both Donald Trump and Gary Johnson in every swing state that arises, and then Donald Trump beats Gary Johnson in the rest. So what ends up happening here, in my mind, is that Donald Trump's little maneuver in order to try and take out New Mexico and is seen as kind of a waste of time. A lot of people might have said, well, it was inevitability that Clinton would have won anyway, and so it was a desperate act by a desperate man. But the party stood behind Donald Trump, even in the essence of Clinton trying to get the libertarians to betray him. I don't see much change occurring in this scenario. It's probably seen as a one-off kind of a fluke. The third party still kind of remains a third party, not very prominent player. The libertarian movement might get started in New Mexico as a result of this, and they might have a morale boost in there, and so the southwest United States corridor becomes a libertarian haven. It's kind of already started. It's already kind of moving in that direction, that there's a libertarian stint in that particular quadrant of the country. But this only encourages it to further out even more. So that is the first scenario. Next scenario. In this scenario, Clinton wins every battleground that she's in. But then Gary Johnson wins every remaining battleground against Donald Trump. Donald Trump's numbers don't move from the initial map. As you can see, it remains 78. In this scenario, this is probably the Republicans' nightmare scenario in this mutual electoral destruction scenario. Basically, Donald Trump's plan backfires immensely. He was successful in taking 5 electoral college votes away from Clinton, but Clinton returned the pain by an order of magnitude. 50 electoral votes that would have went to Trump had he not touched anything would go to Gary Johnson. This phenomenon, seeing as he lost what is most seen as the heart of the Republican Party, which is Texas, since that was lost to the libertarians, the identity crisis within the Republican Party only manifests itself even further. Libertarians start to get a lot more confidence, extreme confidence, and start to run local elections within the states of victor. And as a result, Donald Trump is historically seen as the man who single-handedly destroyed the Republican Party for just trying to hold on to stopping Clinton from getting into political office. So, those are the 2 Hillary Clinton winning scenarios. Now let's go to the other side, Donald Trump scenarios. This map is basically Donald Trump wins every single battleground state contest that he's in, whether it be between the Libertarian or between the Democrat. In the secondary victories, any one that Clinton faces against the Libertarian Party, she wins. This scenario is also somewhat not interesting, but it's, it's Trump presidency, so it's going to be interesting, right? Trump ends up winning the thing, but his action is not seen as having any consequence or anything to do with it. Basically, he was being paranoid. If he just let New Mexico go and didn't start this brouhaha across the entire fold of the United States, the result would have been the same, a referendum against the establishment, and the Democrats would probably at this point be going that, we need to bring in fresh faces and we need to make sure that we're not, hiring established individuals anymore or, electing them into the main office. It's seen as a referendum. Some would say that, I don't know how the Bernie Sanders supporters would come into play, but many would say that the losses and the loss of the millennial vote cost her the election. So it would basically be the story if Donald Trump won without really having New Mexico on his, in his playbook, but we'll see where we go from there. So that's that scenario. Donald Trump winning, pretty standard victory. Next scenario. Donald Trump wins all the battleground states, followed up by Gary Johnson winning every battle against Hillary Rodham Clinton that he has put into play against her. So here is where things get really interesting for the Democrats. What was once seen as a third party that was mainly an opponent and a threat to the Republican Party becomes a threat and a major concern for the Democrats. All of the states that were battleground between Gary Johnson and Hillary Rodham Clinton end up flipping towards Gary Johnson. Trump's plan works at the absolute most optimal way. And Hillary Rodham Clinton and the Democrats end up with a lot of egg in their face. Not only does the Libertarian Party become a stronger threshold in the Southwest conference area, but they end up having a stronger following in the Northeast. A phenomenon which, by the way, I can kind of attest to is that the Libertarians are having a stronger uprising in the Northeast, as well as the Southwest. So those are the two main regions that would follow kind of under this line. So this would only exasperate those kind of trending directions for these particular scenarios. So, at the end of the day, what we see here is the Democrat Party in major disarray, and the Libertarian Party coming out as a viable third party, and Donald Trump is the President of the United States. So who knows what will happen in 4 years. So unpredictable, man. So unpredictable. Unless I predict this, which would be freaking creepy. Alright, so next is Libertarian dream scenario. The third party gets the best end of the stick. So, as you can see, unfortunately, even under this scenario where the first parties are using the third parties against them, every swing state goes to Gary Johnson, which he's involved in, and then following up by this in this scenario with Hillary Rodham Clinton, winning any basically contest between her and Trump. This is probably Donald Trump's nightmare scenario in the effect of the mutual electoral destruction scenario. Not only did he basically, give up Texas and all of his states, but all of the Democrat states also kind of went to Libertarians. And Libertarians become so enfervored by this major victory. Literally, they came in second place, 127 over Donald Trump's 78 in this scenario. They came in second place. Libertarian starts to become the second party in this scenario. The Republicans are basically done. There's a very strong position for the Libertarians in the Southeast, the Southwest, and the Northeast. And they have a foothold politically in the political geography of the nation. So in this scenario, Jerry Johnson people are, while Hillary Clinton is president and she's the victor of the president, libertarians start opening up a lot of local elections, a lot of things start happening, and a lot of movement starts on the ground. And the Republican Party, some of the last standards in the Republican Party might start to go, I'm changing my party affiliation. And particularly in those states, they may try to switch up their party affiliation. Who knows what would happen? But I can say this, libertarians are now on their way to becoming the second party of the United States of America. This scenario is the most interesting scenario. Not only does Gary Johnson win all the states where he was thrown into by the main parties, Donald Trump wins all the secondary contests. Donald Trump is the electoral quote-unquote winner of this particular issue, but the problem here is that nobody reached this 27 required to become president. So this becomes a little bit interesting. So basically it's up to the legislative branch of the United States government to pick the next election person. So basically you might have a Trump-Clinton presidency. Oh God, no. That wouldn't happen. She's like, no way I'm working with this dude. But basically it really is not up to them anymore. It kind of is, I guess, but I don't really know how it works. I don't think anyone really knows how it works. I don't know if it's ever happened before. I guess I'm not that good at American politics, but someone's going to post in the link, go, yeah, it happened before. It happened in 1799 or something. I don't know. Probably not. I can't recall anything, and I'm kind of a nerdish thing, as you can kind of see, and I don't recall any scenarios like this. But basically, from what I understand, the House of Representatives would vote on the president, which is mainly Republican at this point, so it might go Trump. And then the Senate votes on, the other side. And so, since the Senate is mostly Democrat, the vice president becomes a Democrat. So basically, it could be Trump-Clinton. Oh, their friendship, their old friendship was merely a foreshadowing of the weird freaking world that we would live in. She probably wouldn't accept it. She wouldn't accept being vice president under her. No, absolutely not. And I don't know who would in the Democrat side. It's like that would be an interesting challenge for them. But in essence, that would be that scenario. So the final scenario I want to go over is similar, but very much the kind of sort of the idea behind the whole thing that started the thing in the first place. So in this scenario, basically, I kind of just picked things to try and get these numbers. South Carolina is kind of a weird one out. But basically, it was to try to... But it is a quote-unquote swing, like in my particular numbers, even though some people don't agree with that. That it is a solid red state, and it might very well be. But, I'm just following the numbers, not my heart. So... in this case, we have Hillary Clinton at 269, Donald Trump at 264, and basically New Mexico is Gary Johnson still. So here's the interesting thing about this one. This one would be seen as Donald Trump, really, really being like Nostradamus. People would almost give him Nostradamus-like status for using this beautiful little tactic of having his voters go into New Mexico and vote for Gary Johnson and literally be the only thing that blocked Hillary Clinton from getting the United States presidency. And in this scenario, just like most other scenarios, like that last scenario, the House of Representatives would then decide who the president is, and guess what? That would probably be Trump or some other Republican. So Donald Trump is seen as a master tactician, and this kind of scenario is just kind of like the whole reason the mutual electoral destruction scenario happened in the first place, and why it would do, and kind of having the outcome in which was kind of planned. So that was my fun little foray into a mutual electoral destruction scenario. I hope you enjoyed. I may update this if upon popular request from time to time. Probably once a month. I may come back at the end of August, update my charts, because this took probably about 10 hours to do. I would say probably about good to get all the numbers and to figure it out and to try and get all the sources together and all that and recording. It took about a good 8 hours. But now that I have charts that I can use as a foundation and have maps that I can use as a foundation, all I need to do is tweak them. So it should only take probably an hour or so every time I update these numbers. Well, I'd have to update the numbers thoroughly, so it'd probably take a good 3 hours. But I think it's well worth it. It's fun to look at these kind of things and do a what-if scenario. I think that these are popular. I think Alternative History Hub would probably really love this kind of thing. So I'll probably share it with them. But anyways, thank you very much for watching, and have a good day, and get out there and vote. As you can see, it's a little important, maybe. Maybe. Depends on what state you're in, I guess. Electoral college, you're so silly. Anyways, thank you very much. Have a good one.